There you go.
Got it?
Perfect.
Uh,
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, so just a few more housekeeping tips. If you have questions, use the GoToMeeting toolbar. We will ask Mary Jo the questions towards the end of the webinar, but I have everybody muted so we can have a really nice clean recording. I will send this recording out to everyone once the webinar has been completed. Also, there's a survey in that email. If you can please complete the survey and give me your feedback. It's just good to know what's working and what's not, and if y'all have any ideas for other webinars that you'd like to have us host. And with that, I'm going to let Mary Jo take over. She has a slide that talks about her history, so I won't go ahead and do that, the bio. But oh, one more thing, we do have poll questions again this webinar, so please participate, and you'll see I'll be pulling them up during the presentation, and you can just click on the buttons to cast your vote. So we'll be doing that throughout the webinar today. Okay, Mary Jo, you're ready to go.
Okay, thanks. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm pleased to be presenting on our journey here at GE Appliances. Some of you probably have, I probably know some of you. I am the TPM leader of GE Appliances, and GE Appliances was recently bought, so we call ourselves GE Appliances, a high-air company. I was a former TPM Global Maintenance Reliability Manager at Nissan North America, came to GE 2.5 years ago. And before Nissan, I worked as the Continuous Improvement Director of, at ArcelorMittal Steel, the Cleveland, Ohio works. You see all these certifications. I think it's really important for continuous learning. So I try to get the certifications that are going to help me help my companies. And in my previous life, I was also an executive coach, which really helps with the continuous improvement and the change management. So GE Appliances, we were purchased in 2016 by Haier, and I believe it was in May. I came to GE Appliances in July of 2016. So I want to let you know this continuous improvement reliability has only been going on for 2.5 years. Okay, we are headquartered, and I'm actually located in Louisville, Kentucky. However, we have 8 manufacturing plants, and we have 4 in the Southeast that include Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. And then we have 4 plants here in the Louisville area. When we were purchased, we decided that we wanted to reshift our values and our commitment. So you can see those listed there, and we try to live and breathe those commitments every day with whatever we're doing. So with the change management that we're into, we're definitely going to, we have to live these values and our commitments. Okay, we have a poll question.
Okay, so the first poll question is going to be, are you familiar with TPM? And so go ahead and start voting, but Mary Jo, would you give a little description of what TPM is, just in case?
Sure. Total productive maintenance is a holistic type of continuous improvement, and every single thing you do, you would do under the umbrella of certain pillars. So there are various pillars, so like planned maintenance or safety, environmental and health, focused improvement, that type of thing. And so it's a very standardized way of implementing continuous improvement within your organization. The other thing is it is came from the Japanese culture. It's aligned with the Toyota production system also. And those companies that want to be great are implementing TPM because it gives such great results to the bottom line, to your processes, to your quality, that type of thing.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to close the voting, and then I'll share with everyone. It looks like most people were familiar with it, but I'll say as I watched the voting happening, at first we had everyone was saying yes, they knew, and then as you described it, a couple people changed their answer. So maybe they were thinking that they really knew what it was, and then listening to your explanation, they realized that maybe they didn't fully understand it. So I'll go ahead and close this out, and you can continue and talk about your experience with TPM and GE's journey.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you might be familiar, if you're familiar with TPM, you might be familiar with seeing a Roman kind of house with columns, pillars, and so the pillars are holding up the house or the business, and those pillars are TPM standardized strategies. Well, our vice president here at GE Appliances is a big car buff. And so when we rolled it out, this was before I was there, before I joined GE Appliances, they rolled it out as an automotive thing, okay? So the highway signs are actually the pillars. And I've got several of them circled in red because these, I think, are some of the pillars that I noticed were missing when I came to GE Appliances, and so we're really implementing all of those. We have a pretty rigorous, the EHS is Environmental Health and Safety. We have a pretty rigorous safety program here, and so I work continuously with the safety department with TPM, but the pillars that I saw, and really when I took the job, the vice president said, "You're coming into Louisville plant and we have done nothing." And I'm thinking, oh, come on, you got to have done something. But they did nothing. So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to implement and put in some of these pillars. So the autonomous maintenance pillars, where you have the operators doing inspections, cleaning, restoring of the equipment, and finding the defects. Okay. Focused improvement is continuous improvement, Kaizen activities. One of the most important pillars that we implemented here was the early equipment management, where you design into your new equipment safety, reliability, ease of maintenance, ease of operations. And we just absolutely had approved an early equipment management standard that goes to all of our OEMs. If they are going to supply equipment for us, then they have to follow this early equipment management standard. Training and education, my background has been in training, and training and education is huge for me. And what we really needed to do is I noticed a gap in our skill set on more of the higher technical skills when it comes to maintenance and the predictive and reliability skills. So we've really focused on training this year, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then our planned maintenance pillar, that's our professional maintenance. And you're going to notice that a lot of the things that we've implemented here at GE Appliances fall under this planned maintenance pillar because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit there. So just wanted to let you know we're really focusing on these particular pillars to move us ahead forward. And then obviously 5S. 5S is very important. 5S helps with your safety. 5S, you really can't do autonomous maintenance, and planned maintenance is less efficient if you don't have a good 5S foundation. Okay, so why did we need to go into reliability? Well, we had new ownership, and Haier is a Chinese company. So they gave us a little leeway for the first year, and then the second year, there were some strict KPIs put on us. And so we really needed to get to reliability so that our equipment was more stable. We have increased competition. Okay, increased competition. There are competitors in Tennessee, competitors in South Carolina, competitors in Ohio. And so we really needed to improve, once again, the stability of our equipment so that we could get our products out the door. We have increased capacity needs. We have, our sales are just going through the roof. And so we really needed to improve our manufacturing capacity. All of you probably are having the next same problem. Our labor pool is shrinking. We have our older employees retiring, and we are having a difficult time finding the skilled labor that we need to work on the assembly lines in the manufacturing plant. So actually what we've done, we just rolled out a huge workforce development, had a press conference yesterday on partnering with the city of Louisville, with the schools to help with that labor pool. And then obviously we want dollars to the bottom line. We're here to make money, if you will. One of the things that, and we've all heard different quotes about, what insanity is, doing the same thing and thinking you're going to get different results. Well, I found this online. If you change nothing, nothing changes. And so the first thing that we had to do is we had to go in and we had to change the way we were doing business. Now, in order to do that, you have to be very aware of personal feelings of employees. You can't come in there and say, well, you're doing this all wrong, so you have to do it this way. So what we had to do is we had to get some data. We had to show people that there are better ways of doing things. And what's in it for them? Why do they want to follow these changes that we're going to ask them to participate in? And so we really started almost like a marketing campaign with data and helping them understand what was in it for them to do this. Okay? Cherney and I were talking about this earlier in the week. I did this presentation and used this slide a year ago. And the first part of this slide, we are reactive. I didn't have but getting better on that slide a year ago. So we are still reactive, but we are improving because of the reliability strategies that we have implemented here at GE Appliances. Okay? Number one, we've decreased safety risks in our plants. That's one of the most important pillars in TPM. And if you're implementing TPM and safety isn't your most important pillar, there's a problem. Okay? Because you want your employees going home the same way that they came into work. Our maintenance costs were escalating. We had downtime, so we had breakdowns. On the equipment, on one line that we have implemented TPM, and they're probably the best plant that we have, our maintenance costs have decreased 30% on that particular line. And it's due to implementing the reliability. Okay, we have some unused standards and procedures, and so we have gone and we have looked at those, we have improved those, and we are requesting, and during TPM activities, we look at the standards and are we following those standards. And then we had some ownership gaps. So when you implement TPM, total productive maintenance, right? People think it falls on maintenance. Well, TPM, while it does have maintenance in its title, TPM is owned by operations. Operations owns the equipment. And so we were going through that problem of ownership gaps. So we have done a 180 on that. And our operations team knows they own TPM. And then I'm sure all of you in manufacturing have this same problem. The goal, production, 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 is the most important. So what does that do? Well, that means your maintenance guys can't get in and do their PMs. That means that if you break down, my guys, you better get it back up because we got to produce. You can't shut down your equipment to restore it or have the operators inspect it. So we really had to change the thought process of our operations team to realize that reliability in TPM can be a partner with this goal, production, production, production. Okay, so I'm pleased as I can be that I can put in, we're getting better, and we really are. So what did we decide to do? We picked the low-hanging fruit. And one of the things that I know from my previous lifetime at Nissan and at ArcelorMittal Steel lubrication is a low-hanging fruit. And it actually is the lifeblood of the equipment. And people really don't have the understanding about lubrication. And so this is where I decided that I was going to focus. And I will tell you, it was a learning experience for our plants. And we are doing very well now remember, I've only been here 2.5 years. We started our journey in lubrication in the end of December 2016. And I'm going to show you some results that I think will be very helpful to you. While I will say this, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but there is low-hanging fruit. Okay, so I'd love to pull you on this, but I'm sure you can think, here's what most of us are up against. Oil is oil and grease is grease. And it really doesn't matter. Oil, who cares what kind of oil we put into the equipment? And also, so we couldn't find the blue grease, so we used the red grease instead. Or when we're greasing, we grease, and once it comes out, the bearings, boy, we know, okay, we've got enough grease. Okay? So we really had to shift and change culture by understanding that oil is not just oil and grease is not just grease. Okay, and so that was a huge learning curve for all of us here at GE Appliances. Okay. Whoops. Okay, we have another poll question.
Okay, so the question is, what category of, sorry, I can't see my screen, what category of precision lubrication assessment do you think GE Appliances scored the lowest in? So they actually had a company come out and do this assessment. And so if y'all would go ahead and take a vote, we'll see if you can guess correctly. We'll give them a few seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Just about everybody has voted. I'm up to about 90%. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I'll share the answers. So it looks like 60% chose training and education, and the next one down was lubrication, storage, and handling. And then the lowest votes were 10% to equipment maintenance and contamination control, and then oil sampling best practices. So is that kind of in line with what you experienced, Mary Jo, with GE Appliances in your assessment?
You guys, those 60%, you guys are really smart. So I know that you're not getting a prize today, but you've got pride. Okay, we'll give you pride because you're correct on that. This is our actual baseline assessment. Now, let me explain this a little bit. So I used an outside company that was used previously in one of my previous companies to come in and do an assessment. And we did all of the 8 plants. So we visited all of the plants, 4 of them here in Louisville, and then the ones in Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. And there were 10 questions per category. And I do have to say, I asked the vice president to pay for this assessment, and he said, okay, well, show me their proposal. And I said, well, before I show you the proposal, can I show you some pictures? So I had just taken some pictures of poor lubrication practices around the park. He didn't even look at the proposal. He just slid it over to me, and he told my boss, pay for this assessment. We need this, just by looking at the pictures. So we went through it. It took us quite a long time to get this. And if you notice, training and education was the lowest. Okay, so we had very low scores. Well, no wonder we had low scores, because we had low training and education, right? How can you expect someone to understand if we haven't trained them? Now, our overall score of all of our plants was a 4.1. And the company that did it has very good customer service. And so the person going through this, and we had all the vice president, and all of our plant managers in this debrief of this assessment. So he said, the consultant said, you know, 4.1 is not that bad. I've seen worse. And our vice president is from Alabama, and he said, well, you know where I come from, a 4.1 is failing. So the consultant just kind of looked at me, and I shook my head, yeah, you're right. So we started with what are we going to do? How are we going to attack this? So basically what we did, we looked at the lowest scores, and we started there. Okay, so here's what we ended up doing. So for the vice president and the plant managers, we had a 4-hour overview training. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to talk to you about on this particular level, the vice president and the plant managers, the vice president has required all his plant managers to go what we call a lean immersion training. So they are pulled out of their jobs, the plant managers, pulled out of their jobs for 4 weeks. They are put online and actually running the jobs for 2 weeks. They do a one-on-one problem solving for a week. And then they do 1 week of TPM immersion, which the plant managers are all, this is coming up in November for them. So not only have they gone through this lubrication training, but they're going to get lubrication training again by me in it's actually a 4.5-day training. So they will talk about reliability, we will talk about lubrication. They're actually going to have to get on a piece of equipment and restore it and inspect it. And so this is mandatory from the vice president. They cannot get out of this. So the support at the vice president's level is unbelievable here at GE Appliances. Okay. We had a 1 8-hour class for our engineers. And actually what we did is we looked at, with our consultants, free training that they were giving, and we sent our engineers down to Tennessee to get this free training. And then we have done 2 3.5-day lubrication management courses for our maintenance technicians, for our TPM engineers, and our maintenance managers. And the ICML MLT1 certification exam was given at the end of that if they chose to take it. So this was offered to all of our 8 plants. So I think training is important. And I absolutely am a firm believer in training, and usually when budgets are cut, they cut the training budget, which is a huge mistake. Okay, so very, very important. So after the training, the next thing we needed to do is we needed to look at all of our lubricants. So we did an oil consolidation or lubricant consolidation, and how we did that, it was a mammoth task. We went to every one of our plants. We worked with our sourcing people, so it was cross-functional team, our crib managers at all the plants, our maintenance people, technicians, maintenance managers, and we looked and we looked at every single lubricant used in every single plant. And we put them on a spreadsheet, and we had hundreds. I was going to say thousands, but no, we had hundreds of different lubricants. Some of the lubricants we didn't even know if we were using anymore, and the plants didn't even know if we were using it anymore. So we had to do a lot of research. At the end of this, and we actually have just implemented this, we have reduced our purchased lubricants by 22%. In order to do that, we decided that we are going to go to one sole supplier, if at all possible. Now, in order to do that, we had to have our supplier help us, and they performed compatibility tests to ensure we could switch lubricants. So their lab performed compatibility tests on what we were currently using versus what was a compatible lubricant with theirs. And So we were ensured that we could change lubrication. Now, if we had any question on that, we sent the compatibility results to our OEMs, and our OEMs usually said, yes, this is fine. We had one OEM say, no, don't change the lubricants. We had some that weren't compatible, so we can't change. We're going to use that other supplier of lubrication. Okay. So we partnered with our oil supplier for the testing and for cost savings. So our sourcing department negotiated several cost savings if we went to a sole source supplier. And they've done a great job for us, offering additional savings, offering us alternative types of lubricants. Okay. We've also used them for free training for our technicians on how to properly do oil samples. Actually, about an hour ago, the sales rep just left my office. So we are still meeting. We met with this oil supplier when we first started this oil consolidation. We met with him once a week. He would come down here, and he lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. So he would come down here and meet with us, and we'd go through the tasks that sourcing needed to do, my team needed to do, his team needed to do, and we worked cohesively to get this oil consolidation completed. Okay. Now, here are some of the results. So I'm starting with some of our plants. Okay, AP5 is our refrigeration plant here in Louisville. And AP5's reliability engineer grabbed this and ran with it. He just took it to the next level. Okay. So the first thing he decided to do is to start with the most heavily consumed oil. And so we started installing adapter kits on the equipment. So the next bulleted item, WEMOs, case back, case and door form, those are pieces of equipment that are critical that we needed to improve our lubrication. So what the adapter kits did was provide contamination-free means to add, remove, filter, sample oil. And also it provided, we are installing desiccant breathers. Okay, we've added color-coded stickers. Now, the other thing with the color coding, you just can't color code. So we have color-coded. We've also used a shape, but you also have to use verbiage in case someone is colorblind. So you need to think about that also. Right now, AP5 currently has 26 or 24 pieces of equipment with adapter kits installed, and then that includes all of our 6 of our bulk lubricants that we use. All of our new oil is filtered after adapter kits are installed on the drum or the tote. And we have set our hydraulic oil cleanliness. Now this is hydraulic oil only, but we are filtering gearbox oil now. But on our hydraulic oil, 15, 13, 10 is the cleanliness level that we want. Okay. We have expanded since this slide was completed, and we are actually, I don't believe this is on another slide, we are actually prototyping smart breathers that have a sensor in them that help monitor humidity levels in those particular hydraulic units. And so we go around, it's actually wireless, so we take the readings and it goes onto a laptop, or it can go onto a desktop, and they've been rolled out on a small basis, but this company will be rolling those out. So we've seen great progress in that implementation also. We're pretty much into the high technology that we want to. Now, major plastics. So here in Louisville, we supply most of our plastic parts for all of our products that are supplied or are manufactured here in the Louisville plants. So one of our major plastic operations manager, once again, took this on because his area was, there were lots of leaks, there was safety hazards, it was a dirty area to work in, and so he said, enough is enough. We're going to start cleaning up our leaks. And so he started, the first place he started is he started with one of our vendors, and they identified all of the hoses. So each hydraulic hose has a number that when they order it, the manufacturer knows exactly what the fitting size is, how long the hose is, and we get that hose within an hour of calling this particular supplier for if we have a leak. He also standardized core interfaces. He looked at which presses we were using the most hoses in, and so they started looking at why are we blowing hoses and what's going on here. He cleaned up leaks, and I want to talk to you a little bit about cleaning up the leaks. So he has actually changed the culture in this particular department. He started with the maintenance team, and he said leaks are non-negotiable. We cannot have leaks. So what he did is he started identifying the leaks, and every single Monday morning, he and the maintenance team, now this is operations manager, and the maintenance team looked at what the leaks were, what the consumption of the oil was, and if you look, you can see the downward trend, and this is simply by having leak detection. Simply by having leak detection. Okay? This particular area is well into the $100,000 of cost savings due to doing nothing but repairing leaks. So, unbelievable. He presented this particular slide to our plant manager and our vice president. And the vice president looked at everybody and said, why aren't we doing this all over the plant? Why aren't we doing this at every plant if we have this kind of cost savings? So once again, low-hanging fruit. Hopefully you can do that. Now, the other thing, AP1 is another plant, and AP4 is our major plastic production plant. So AP3 did the leak reduction first. They're all part of this same major plastics department. So it went into AP1 and AP4, and they just started with this looking at and reducing leaks and fixing leaks. So there was a 20% reduction just starting it this year in oil consumption in AP1, fixing leaks, and a 71% reduction in AP4 from last year by simply fixing oil leaks. So the money is there, and actually the vice president said, show me the money. So I'm starting to show him the money. Okay, very important. AP1, this is our laundry plant, and I wanted to show you, we've set up in all of our plants oil storage facilities. So we have oil room, it's clean, it has temperature control. If you notice, we have color coding there. Okay, and we're requiring all of our plants to set up oil rooms in this manner. And every single plant, all of our 8 plants, have started doing this. One of the things is, one of our consultants that we used, they gave us the design of how it should be set up, and it was free. So we took, once again, we took advantage. Okay, how is a good oil room set up? What's the best practice? They set it up and drew it up for us, and we just followed their drawing. Okay, if you notice, we have filter carts, and this particular filter cart, I'm not sure if you can see, but in the right hand, if you can see my mouse, this is one we purchased, and this is our mobile filter cart, and our maintenance guys love it because it's easy to move the oil in and to fill. And if you notice, we have quick disconnects, we have cleanliness, so it's contamination free from the time it's filtered till the time it's added into the piece of equipment. Now remember, AP5 was the one I talked to you earlier. This is another plant in Louisville, and AP1's doing the same thing. The other thing that we did is we used visual management and labeling to avoid mistakes. So Here are our numbers, the HPU filter, there's the number, and that is our purchasing number, the 72317. So we put that on every single one of our hydraulic units in AP1, and we're moving that throughout the plants so that our maintenance guys will never make a mistake, even using the proper filters. So, and this was a maintenance predictive technician who decided to do this. He took it upon himself. I'm going to label all these so nobody makes a mistake. So we're seeing the culture change. Okay, if any of you are familiar with RCM or reliability-centered maintenance, this is the PF curve. And once again, on the PF curve, once you implement equipment, failure begins. Okay, so what we decided is we needed to be proactive and monitor our oil condition and our contamination. We take oil samples on every single one of our critical equipment, and what we've done is we've started monthly in most of our plants. Some of our plants, because we had baselines before, we've gone to quarterly, but we monitor our oil, and we've actually gone to most of our plants condition-based oil changes. So we look at our oil analysis and the trend on those oil analysis reports, and that's when we change oil. Let me give you an example of that. In AP5, we had a WEMO, which is one of our most critical pieces of equipment, and we had the WEMO people in doing some repairs that they needed to do. They come in once a year and they look over the machine and inspect it, whatever. And so the WEMO gentleman said to the reliability engineer in that plant, okay, it's time for you to change the oil now. We're done with our assessment. Well, the reliability engineer had his laptop and he pulled up our oil analysis and he said, I don't need to change the oil. This oil is still in good condition. I just tested it last week. And so if we would have changed the oil, if it would have been a time-based oil change, it would have cost us $6,000 at that point in time. And we really did need to change the oil. Okay, so that's one of the things. It tells you the health of your oil. Okay, I'm going to give a little advertisement. This is who does our oil analysis. I have to say I've been very pleased with Test Oil. We've used them before. In my previous life, I used them at Nissan Smyrna Manufacturing when we had issues that because we had our own oil analysis lab, but if we had something we didn't understand, we would send it to Test Oil. So I started using them in GE, and I think it's probably been about a year ago, and we've set up a corporate account with them. If we have an issue, we call them. They're very good. And in this particular oil, this is a unique report. It says our lubrication condition is critical. Well, what the problem was is we were changing from a viscosity of 40 or 68 to 46, and so there was a little mixture there, and that was the problem with that particular report. But it's very visual, and there's a lot of different reports that you can pull up so you can keep track of your oil and the health of your oil. So it's very, very important that you do this. Okay. So our results today, you know, what show me the money. Okay. So Major Plastics has saved us $211,000. AP5 since 2017. Remember, we started in 2016. We have saved $220,000 on just, we've got some T-stands with kidney lube systems that are constantly filtering the oil on some of our critical processes. And we used to, on one of our critical processes, there was so much contamination before we started this, we had to change the oil every week, every single week. Now we don't have to change the oil on actually a yearly basis now, because we've gone to the T-stands with kidney lube systems, and we're using oil analysis. Okay. AP5, they are the plant that, remember, it's a refrigeration plant. We are going to apply for the Battle Award. The Battle Award is an award for lubrication management excellence. there's a lot we need to do, and I think that we probably will be able to win the battle award for this particular plant. We are using the smart breathers. So once again, those monitor our humidity in our HPUs. All the plants have oil storage areas, and all the plants, they're at various levels, but they are slowly but surely going to best practice. Okay. We have a chemical management coalition. Now, one of the things very important is chemical management. And with the chemical management, we work with our team in our environmental health and safety department to make sure we have the proper SDSs. So in case there's an issue with any of our lubricants or greases that are brought in, we know we can pull those up if there should happen to be a spill or an accident. Very, very important. And we are diligent with this. And once again, we've partnered with our team. It's cross-functional. And we really have seen the adaptation of this with our maintenance group. So any chemicals being brought in. We have written standards in our QMS, our quality management system, for oil sampling, greasing. And once again, we talked about that early equipment management. We've also designed that precision lubrication into all of our new equipment. Some of the things that we've done, we have taken all of our grease fittings and pulled them outside the equipment, so outside the cages, and put them in banks so that we can have our operators, or we call them our team leaders, controlmen here, start doing that type of greasing rather than having our maintenance team do that type of greasing. So those are some of the things. The other thing is we want to make sure that our OEMs are labeling for us instead of us having to do the labeling. So we've got a tagging procedure in this early equipment management process. Best of all, momentum is going GEA-wide. Now, one of the reasons why is we have KPIs that the vice president and the plant managers are presented every month. And the plant manager, it's kind of like a stoplight chart. If they're in the red or the yellow, the plant manager will ask the vice president will ask the plant manager, why is this red? Why is this yellow? What are you going to do about it? So we've really gotten a lot of momentum and support from our individual plants. So I'm pleased as can be with our success. It's been a hard journey, but it's been a rewarding journey. And if you have any questions, actually, that's the last of my slides. Carrie, if they want to ask questions, if you have any, let me know.
Okay. So again, if you have questions, please use the toolbar on the GoToMeeting software, and you can type in your question there, and I will ask Mary Jo. I do have a couple that were submitted, but I want to say first, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. I know that everything you talked about is going to be very useful for someone, especially as they're starting out, trying to implement a corporate-wide reliability program. And I have gotten the sense from, being at recent trade shows and just talking to some customers that this is really something that it's a huge undertaking, but it is also becoming more common that companies are doing this, trying to set this standard up corporate-wide. And so I applaud you for your efforts, and I can't wait to check in with you maybe in a year from now to see how things have even gotten better.
So one of the things that for the audience, I know Carrie's got my contact information. If you're going to start this journey, please get my contact information from Carrie, because I had a peer that I used to work with, and he said, people smarter than us have already done this, so shamelessly steal. And I'm saying shamelessly steal because I've made mistakes and I know what the mistakes are. So I think that I can help you and give you some advice so you don't make the same mistakes I've made. Okay, so absolutely get my contact information from Carrie, and we will, I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
So Mary Jo, one of my questions is kind of a follow-up to what you just said. The person is asking, what is the biggest pushback that you experienced from within a company when you started on your path to make these changes, and how did you overcome them?
I'll tell you exactly the biggest pushback: money. Because to do this, let's say for instance, to modify your hydraulic units, to buy filter carts, it costs money. And that was the biggest problem. So I went to the vice president and I talked to him about the money that we can be saving on maintenance costs. And he was the one who said to the plant managers, we are going to do this. You are going to do lubrication management. But money was the biggest problem.
So you really had to get buy-in from the very upper level of management to support you, which obviously...
Very upper level of management, yeah, because, you know, albeit we are getting better, we are still reactive. So if I'm going to invest in, let's say, a filter cart, I'm not going to be able to afford something else that I may need due to a breakdown. And so you really have to show how it's going to help you. And actually, the lubrication training really helped the maintenance technicians understand how dirty new oil really is and why we need this. And they were the ones who started pushing it. So but money is going to be your biggest obstacle.
Well, so the next question is right in line with your just last comment you just made. It's funny how this is so smooth. The person was asking actually earlier, do you only pre-filter your new oils? Can you talk about that?
No, okay, I will say this. We have reclaimed oil also, which I am anti. I'll just tell you that right now. So a couple of our plants have reclaimed oil. So they are filtering that also. We filter that. And we filter our new oil once it comes into the plant. We filter it. And then before we put it into the equipment, we filter it again. So we filter, we basically have routes also that we go along and filter the oil. So we're doing a lot of filtering here to keep our oil clean.
Okay. And so why are you filtering it so much? What is the purpose of having it just so extremely clean?
So that we eliminate failures in cylinders, seals, bearings. That's basically why we are. So we're eliminating those types of failures.
Okay, perfect. Okay, couple more questions and then we'll be done. So I have one. What do you base your greasing frequency on? Calendar or run hours? Do you use ultrasound to grease?
We use ultrasonic. Yeah, we have grease caddies. Now, once again, we are just at GE Appliances. We had not done very many reliability predictive technologies. So when I came here, that's the other thing that I mean, I'm basically spending money. But we started buying ultrasound guns, understanding, giving training how that works. Our greasing is in a PM, and basically it's both. It's time-based on some pieces of equipment, and some pieces of equipment it's at run hours. Okay, so it depends on what the equipment is.
Okay. Now here's the last question. Were your suppliers all in, or did you have to drag them into your new way of doing business?
No, our suppliers were all in. I look at it this way. If you want to do business with us, this is what we need. This is what we're going to require. And I have to tell you, my suppliers have been phenomenal. From you guys, Test Oil, to the other two that I use, and I won't use their names. If you want information, you can once again email me. But from those guys, and the other thing is they can give a lot of free information and free. I've got one supplier coming up next week for 2 days to go through one of the plants to help with the modification of some of the more difficult presses that we have, and how are we going to modify those for precision lubrication. And it's free of charge. They're coming up. They're going to spend 2 days with our people in that one plant. So no, my suppliers have been great.
That's wonderful. There's a follow-up real quick. I know I said that was the last question, but this is from the same person asking about the grease frequencies. He's asking if you have a cleanliness target for after filtering.
On grease or on oil?
I'm thinking that's on oils.
Yes, we have set whatever the best practices are on all of our oils. So depending if it's gear case oil, we have one cleanliness level. With our hydraulic, it's 15, 13, 10. Okay, so we've set that. Now on greasing, actually what we've gone to, and we're looking at starting to look at contamination in our greasing. So looking at our new grease that comes in, taking samples, looking at our grease in our grease guns and grease in our equipment, and sampling those and having those analyzed also. Okay, so we're going down that path.
Great. Okay.
Right now, as far as our greasing standard, no, we don't have cleanliness levels set for our grease yet.
Okay. All right. Well, that concludes all the questions. And I do want to just say real quick, Mary Jo, good luck on that battle award. I know that that's something that's announced. I think it's in conjunction with Noria's Reliable Plant Conference in April.
Yep.
So best of luck to you and your group. And I know the guys at AP5 will probably be very proud if they do win. And so with that, I'm going to say thank you, and we can end the webinar today.
Okay, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
All righty, you too. Thanks, Mary Jo.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.